What turned you into a helicopter parent? Several years ago, I was at the bus stop with my little daughters when the bus pulled in and nearly ran over all of us on the curb. When the door opened, the bus driver Gary leaned forward to pull the lever. This strong alcoholic smell made my daughters pinch their nose before hopping on. When I saw the bloodshot red in his eyes, I hopped onto the bus and pulled my daughters off. They looked at me confused and worried about missing school, but I smiled and reassured them that I'd get them there on time safely. After I dropped them off, I went straight to Principal Matthews' office. Did you know that your bus driver is drunk off his butt while taking the kids to school? Principal Matthews looked at me with a bored expression on his face. And you know this how, miss? I crossed my legs and leaned back in the chair across from him, explaining how I had smelled the alcohol and saw the bloodshot eyes. Principal Matthews rubbed his bald head and said, "Well, look, it seems bad and all, but Gary has been driving for this district for 15 years without a single incident. And as far as I see, these things you said are just accusations, not actual proof. But I do appreciate you stopping by." He pointed at the door and turned back to his computer. I glared at him and left. I hated that nothing was done, but he was right. I had no proof. That afternoon, when I couldn't pick up the girls, they came home terrified. Mr. Gary kept yelling and driving like crazy. Like when he ran over the cat, he actually smiled while we all screamed. Who does that? I kissed their heads and said I'd take care of it. I pulled out my phone and started texting the other parents about the incidents and asked if their kids ever complained about that bus. My phone instantly blew up with parents' stories. "My son says the bus swerves all the time," one said. "Yeah, my daughter won't even ride anymore. She walks back home instead," another added. 3 other parents ended up chiming in when they saw the bus swerving from lane to lane early the next morning. So by that evening, we compiled the stories and emailed Principal Matthews together, figuring he wouldn't be able to ignore us with this amount of complaints. But he became more aggressive. "This witch hunt ends now, or your children will face consequences." I couldn't believe the audacity of the little bald man, so we gathered more evidence. Parents took pictures of the stop sign that the bus ran over in their neighborhood and emailed it again. But Principal Matthews stayed stubborn, saying that it must have been the wind, or a really old stop sign, or even just terrible placement of the sidewalk. I was completely appalled. We tried to leave sticky notes on the windshield, asking him to stop drinking while driving, but he ripped them off and littered them on the ground. So I placed more and more until one day, Gary stumbled off the bus, still clearly tipsy, and pointed his finger at my face saying, "I'm done with your harassment. One more complaint from any of you and your kids lose bus privileges permanently. And that's for all buses in the district, now and in the future." But I wasn't ready to let things go that easily. That Monday, I decided to follow the bus after it left school, making sure to get it all on my dash cam. About 2 miles out, the bus swerved hard into the oncoming lane and nearly hit a minivan head-on. The van honked and swerved into the ditch to avoid getting hit. I watched a small family exit the van, looking heartbroken at the damage. That was when I knew this was it. I held onto my Camry and floored it, jumping ahead of the bus at the next stop sign, angling it so that my car blocked it completely. I jumped out and stood beside the bus's door while Gary screamed at me to move the car. When I wouldn't move, he stumbled out and took a swing at me, falling flat on the pavement after missing me completely. I yelled at him while he struggled on the ground. "You almost killed that family." He flipped me off and threatened to call the police, and I smiled. "Oh, please do that. It'll save me the trouble of doing it myself." I stepped into the bus and yelled for everyone to get off. About 20 of the kids managed to exit the front door before Gary scrambled up and ran back onto the bus. He slammed the door, started the engine, and rammed straight into my car. The kids still on the bus screamed as he reversed and rammed it again, trying to push my car out of the way. I took a deep breath and yanked the emergency exit open. "Jump out and run to the sidewalk when I tell you." I ran to the front and pulled on the emergency brakes. "Now!" The kids poured out from the bank, screaming and crying. He slammed on the acceleration more, but the bus wouldn't budge. Once all the kids were off, I held on to the emergency brake while calling 911. I have a driver here who used the bus as a weapon and the kids as a shield. The police showed up fast and had him in cuffs after blowing a 0.22 on the breathalyzer. He got imprisoned for DUI, assault, 40 counts of child endangerment, reckless endangerment, and much more. The investigation was just as brutal for Matthews. They found 15 written complaints he'd ignored over 3 months and a long history between Matthews and Gary. Apparently, they were drinking buddies and enjoyed embezzling school funds into their pockets. They even found text messages between them where Matthews wrote, "I've got your back, ignore the helicopter parents." Matthews was fired that day, and the state permanently revoked his administrative credentials. He's facing criminal charges for reckless endangerment and embezzlement. Not that any of that surprises me.